Welcome to the Rise of Cryptocurrencies show. Today I'm joined by Ryan Taylor of Dash. He is a former director of finance and now the CEO of Dash Core Inc., which is the largest group that gets funding from the Dash network. Um, First of all, Ryan, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm very well, man, and I'm glad that you're with us today. I have a number of questions that I'm sure many people would love to know. First of all, can you share with us the caliber of the network size of Dash, like the number of daily trades, volume, how many developers there are, miners, bloggers, etc. Compare it to Bitcoin, for example, in the size and scope.
Yeah, so Dash has a market capitalization of around 2.3 to 2.5 billion US dollars. We're the fifth or sixth largest cryptocurrency, depending on the day. And we have around 5 to 8,000 transactions per day. We moved about $15 billion last quarter in terms of total transaction volume. And so we've been growing at a pretty rapid pace. Launched in 2014, we've grown at triple digits every single year. This year, we're on a quadruple digit growth rate. We've outgrown the pace of Bitcoin by at least double the rate every single year, and the rest of the altcoin space. And so we've been a top 10 digital currency for nearly 3 years at this point. And so we've been very stable at the top of the cryptocurrency lists. And at this point, Dash is we have a unique attribute, which is our treasury system. And our treasury is currently producing about $25 million a year, which helps us grow our own ecosystem proactively. And we can talk more about that. But at this point, Dash is really the largest incubator within the cryptocurrency space. And it allows us to really grow the businesses that are integrated into our network.
Very interesting. Now, what's the vision, written on your flag? What are the catalysts for people to buy, in other words, Dash instead of any of the other cryptocurrencies?
Well, I think that Dash is really thoughtful about the way that we have set up the system in a much more sustainable way than many of the other cryptocurrencies. Most of the first generation cryptocurrencies allocate 100% of the transaction fees and 100% of what's called the block reward towards one task, which is mining or securing transactions to the network. And it's really the only service to the network that is paid for. And we looked at that and thought that that was pretty nonsensical. There are certainly more than one need of a payment network in order to operate. And so in the case of first generation digital currencies like Bitcoin, developers are expected to volunteer their time to the network, or companies will sponsor developers to continue to invest in the development of the currency. People that host full nodes on the network are expected to do so voluntarily. So the Bitcoin network, as it grows, the costs of hosting one of these nodes continues to go up. There's more bandwidth requirements. There's more storage requirements. There's more computing capacity that's required. And that's not compensated for. And so the network infrastructure continues to shrink in Bitcoin's case as the network grows. In our case, we allocate a portion of our block reward towards that function called master nodes. And we have about 4,600 of them. And as the Dash network grows and more transaction fees are generated, a portion of those transaction fees go towards that activity. And so it allows us to afford better infrastructure since it's compensated. And at this point, we have a network that actually propagates messages and propagates transactions 100% faster than the Bitcoin network. And it's also allowed us to build unique features on top of the software, like instant transactions, privacy features. And then the last aspect that's really different with Dash is that we have an explicit governance model. In the case of a lot of these other coins, we've seen Ethereum split, we've seen Bitcoin split once already, and it looks like there might be another split on the horizon. We have an explicit voting-based model in which the master nodes themselves, the ones that are actually running the network, vote on proposals. Anyone can put a proposal up to the network, and it can be voted on. And it can be anything from, should we increase the capacity of the network and change the block size, to, where should our treasury funding be going? And so most of the proposals are actually for funding of the network's development. And so the Dash Core Group, we have to go to the network each and every month, and we have to request the funding for our operations and continue to justify our existence. If we do a poor job, the network can defund us and can fund another team. And so we've got a much more sustainable governance structure that allows us to resolve disputes on the network in a very clean and fast way. And we've got the ability to self-fund and grow our own development, not just of the software itself, but of our ecosystem. We can make grants to companies that are integrating Dash into their services, and we can actually proactively grow. So we have a business development arm that does that. It functions much more like a business. For those that are looking to integrate with Dash, we have support. We have an entity that you can call and receive support from in the form of funding, in the form of technical assistance. And so it's really a unique model. It's something that not very many cryptocurrencies have. These are all features and functions that Dash pioneered. And for the fourth year in a row, we're now outpacing the growth of the rest of the space.
Well, and you know what, Ryan, I've at Wealth Research Group, we we first put out an alert on Dash. Gosh, I want to say like July of 2016. So I've been following Dash for a long, long time, and our subscribers have the ones that took our advice have made a substantial amount of money with Dash, because it is growing pretty fast. I mean, how many merchants worth mentioning except Dash, if any?
There's a merchant page that we host on the website where you can see a full list, and there's links to wiki pages and so on that list the full list. But it's up in the close to 200 at this point. But I think that even that list misses the point, because the types of relationships that we're building now this year, with the growth that we've seen and the funding that we now have available to us, I would really point towards the future. We're now integrating with public companies, some of which have been announced, and we're continuing to sign on new business partners at an unprecedented rate. The important thing that to note is, up till this point, it's really been up to businesses to integrate Dash. That means hosting their own infrastructure, usually a lot of work required on their part. The way that we're functioning now is we're working with channel partners that are helping us to bring Dash to a massive number of merchants in one go. So it's no longer one merchant at a time getting them signed up, getting them operational on the Dash network. We have a partnership with BlockCypher, which is one of the largest Bitcoin API providers. They basically host the infrastructure for merchants and allow them to access it through regular interfaces. And they're actually helping us to bring Dash to a whole bunch of new companies, government agencies, and institutions. And that partnership has been really successful for us. We're about to launch on a payment gateway called Alt36. Alt36 is integrating with some of the largest point of sale manufacturers in retail. They're starting with the legal cannabis industry in the United States and have partnerships with some of the largest point of sale systems there. And that will bring us to thousands of locations at a time. And then they're going to be taking it to other verticals after that, whether that's restaurants and bars, convenience stores, grocery stores. They can service any number of different types of point of sale systems. And so we have a strategy to not try to do this one business at a time, but rather to sign up and incentivize channel partners to bring this out to thousands of locations at one go. And also thousands of online sites in one go. So if you can partner with payment gateways, with point of sale manufacturers, or with other service providers, and get your system integrated along with the other payment methods that they accept, so that they have one reconciliation report to deal with, and it's integrated with the rest of their payment solutions. That's what serious merchants are looking for. And it's the reason why really digital currency hasn't taken off to date in terms of locations and acceptance. It's because it's been this kind of standalone product that people are on their own to integrate with. Nobody is out there getting Bitcoin partnered with some of these payment gateways or point of sale systems. And if you don't get integrated, you're not going to see adoption.
Well, that's very interesting. It's big news. How easy is it to buy Dash? Can you explain to people who are listening and never bought Dash what they need to do?
Yeah, so Dash is available on many different exchanges, and you can also purchase it from brokers or service providers that will accept credit cards or debit cards as a form of payment. We're integrated with the largest euro exchange, which is Kraken, and we're integrated with the largest US dollar exchange, which is Bitfinex. So they can transfer funds from their bank account to one of those exchanges and buy it that way. They can use a broker like Coinapult or Changely that allow you to actually just purchase it with a credit card or debit card. We're available on Wall of Coins, which allows you to buy Dash with cash at around 130,000 locations in the United States, plus I think around a dozen other countries. So there's a number of different ways to acquire it. The best place to go is go to dash.org, and you can see a full list of different ways that you can acquire it. And we're working on some easier to use systems in the near future. This quarter, we'll be announcing a service that will allow you to transfer money free from your bank account and purchase Dash for a fixed percentage fee. And that'll be probably the easiest method yet to be able to buy it.
Very interesting. And so, Ryan, what are your top 2 other cryptocurrencies besides Dash that you look at and admire what they're doing?
Well, I think that Ethereum is the obvious one, simply because they've pioneered so many new different types of use cases for blockchain. And I think that it's the first real example of a purpose-built system that's designed to do smart contracts. And I think that they've got their eyes on scalability and all the issues that are facing blockchain. And so I think that they're headed in the right direction for sure. I think there's other interesting ones. I think that Ripple, although the Ripple cryptocurrency isn't really used on their platform very much, what Ripple is doing for banks and focusing on an industry and servicing that industry really well is the way to go. I think that the thing that I see too often is cryptocurrencies that seek to be all things to all people, and that simply isn't a very good method to follow, because you can't do all things well. And so for Dash, we're focusing on payments, and we're trying to be the best payment system possible. And I think that other projects that follow a similar path, Factum is a good example. They're focusing on records retention and being able to prove the dates of legal documents and things. I think those specific use cases are the ones that are likely to be successful.
Now, how much are you up to date with the new developments on of blockchain uses that you can update us on things that are exciting that are going on blockchains right now?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Sure. For example, the governor of Delaware has started a plan to get the archives on the blockchain. There are other entities around the world. Take the Australian Stock Exchange and the German Stock Exchange and the Canadian Stock Exchange that are looking to put trading algorithms on the blockchain. Do you have any other amazing examples of things that are going on right now and are going to be put on the blockchain in the near future that you can update us on?
Yeah, I'm aware of a couple that are pretty interesting. One is one of the largest stockbrokers in Europe, that is looking to register each of the trades, or a hash of each of the trades on the blockchain, in order to be able to prove, in a very transparent way, the execution that they followed and that it was best execution. The other one that I think is really interesting is everything that's happening around identity. I think that identity and identity registration and identity proof are use cases that blockchain is ideally suited for. One of the large healthcare companies is working on a solution that will register healthcare records on the blockchain. Blockchain is perfect for these types of things because they're immutable, and the signatures associated with the identity is owned by that person. And in a world where we've got the credit bureau hack and all the financial system hacks that we've seen, and the loss of identity records, a solution is really needed in that space. And I think a lot of companies recognize that. And so we're seeing some use cases on our blockchain for those types of solutions that are being developed right now. And so I think in the coming 3 months, some of those are going to start to be announced.
Very interesting. Now, let me ask you something. Do you know the age demographics of a typical Dash trader or Dash, holder, and the location of the typical Dash user? I mean, where is this more popular, and with what age group?
Yeah, so as you know, with all cryptocurrencies, it's really difficult to know exactly who is using it or who holds how much.
That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah. So I have to go off of anecdotal evidence, but anecdotally, I would say that the majority of our users are in North America and Europe. That is starting to shift. We're seeing more interest in Asia than at any point in our past. We're making some real inroads into emerging markets like Venezuela and Zimbabwe. We have a explicit effort that's happening there. And so we're starting to expand into new territories. As far as the age group and demographics, I think that with all cryptocurrencies, it tends to be young, well-educated types of folks. But I think that with Dash, we skew a little bit older than most digital currencies. I think the reason is I think we tend to attract a little bit more of the business savvy and experience type of folks who appreciate much more the investments that we've made into our governance structure. Young people might not have been burned in the past by investments or things, and I think older people recognize the value that brings to the table. And so I think that many of the people that I've met that are traders or large holders of Dash, they tend to skew a little bit older than you might expect, and tend to have a little more sophistication in their viewpoints on the space. And so I do think that it's slightly different than most, but certainly a lot of overlap. A lot of people hold both Dash and other cryptocurrencies, of course.
Well, Ryan, thank you very much. This has been a very insightful interview. Ryan Taylor, dash.org. Thank you very much for taking the time.
No problem. Thank you.